everybody, this is Joe. It's early in the morning on Wednesday and we're driving down to Corpus Christi, getting our early start. We're going to go down to the Gulf and try to see what's down there since we're in the neighborhood. Well, there's the causeway. We're going across to Padre Island. Well, we figured since we were, a couple hours away from the Gulf Coast on our San Antonio trip, hey, let's go drive down to Corpus Christi. This was the day we chose, and of course it is not, I wouldn't say near hurricane conditions, but it's a pretty darn good storm blowing, and it's been windy ever since we left San Antonio. Actually, a little storm blew in last night, but hey, we enjoyed our little drive down here by the coast. We had a nice breakfast a little while ago at a little local country kind of strip mall, eggs and bacon and toast kind of cafe, and cafe coffee, so it was pretty cool. But here we are, us desert rats at the Gulf of Mexico.
Glad we came, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you so.
Well, it's quiet evening here back at the tiny house. We had a good drive back. Of course, it was windy most of the way. We got some rain on the way back, which was actually nice to see. When he hit back in San Antonio, it was actually sunny, the sunniest that we've had all trip. Nice warm day. And we went and had some coffee at Halcyon Coffee in the Blue Star part of town, and enjoyed it. I took my Remington typewriter in. I took it with us, and then I was kind of a little bit bashful about bringing it out of the car and taking it to the coffee shop. But once I got my coffee, I was emboldened, and I was happy I did so. We were sitting at a long table and with some young students, and they commented on the typewriter. They really liked it, and I thought it interesting that this whole thing about hipsterism, I thought it was interesting that they didn't really react like I was being a hipster, if you will, and I think that's maybe generational, perhaps. Maybe they are too young to really disparage hipsters yet. So anyways, I thought it was an interesting observation, but I had a good time. I typed about a page and a half, and then we went to dinner and came back and just relaxing. But it was a very good day, a nice touring day, and had a good time publicly with the typewriter. Well, one of the things we really liked about the tiny house experience was that after having lived in it a few days, it started to look a little bit larger than we originally thought it felt when we first arrived. You sort of get used to the space and how you're using it, and it really does start to be a little bigger inside as you figure out how to use it efficiently. Now, one of the things that I noticed I didn't like about it as much is the layout. With two people, if one person is sleeping and the other person wants to get up and do something like turn on a light, or even go to the bathroom and turning on the light there, or grinding coffee early in the morning, the other person is sleeping, it's really a one-room environment, and it's difficult to give the other person privacy without waking them up. So that is one issue you'd have to work out if you were a couple living together in a tiny house. But overall, my experience, I think, was pretty positive. I really kind of enjoyed it. It was very, very fun. I've made some reflections in this video and these videos about the tiny house experience, and one of the things I thought I would mention here at the end is I talked earlier about minimalizing your possessions a little bit in order to live peaceably with yourself and your partner in a tiny house. The problem of clutter is always going to be an issue in these tiny spaces because you only have so much room for storage, and the volume of the space diminishes as the cube root of the dimensions shrinks, as is true with all three-dimensional objects. So you end up with much less volume for storage than you might think otherwise, just by making the place a little bit smaller. One of the things we noticed is on our trip, not thinking otherwise, we took a lot of shoes. So I think going forward, if you were going to be living in a tiny house more full-time, you would have to really consider practicality over fashion. Have a few shoes that work for you in a wide variety of circumstances in terms of practicality, and not nearly as much focused on style and all that. And I think that's the most important thing, is minimizing those shoes, those things that tend to occupy a lot of space. Well, it's Friday morning. We just discovered another coffee shop in the neighborhood. But alas, we have to get going. We're going to have breakfast in a restaurant, and then we're going to head out of town, head on I-10 west, and go about halfway, stay the night, and then be in Albuquerque tomorrow. It was a fun trip. Really enjoyed this San Antonio trip. It was a fairly long drive, but you split it up into 2 days. It's not so bad. And really enjoyed the town. We were in basically the South Town area, right on the border with King William area. Enjoyed the heck out of it. Really great place. I really want to come back and spend some more time here. Anyways, it was great also living for a few days in a tiny house. We learned a lot, and very interesting living here. Well, that was a drive. Actually, I drove about half that distance, and my wife drove the other. We're in Fort Stockton along Interstate 10, West Texas. We'll spend the night here, and then the rest of the drive will be up 285 into southern New Mexico through Carlsbad, Roswell, etc., back to Albuquerque. So we had a pretty uneventful drive, and we're going to try to hit a couple coffee shops in Fort Stockton. Yes, there appears to be at least 2 pretty good coffee shops from what we can tell. But yeah, this is a little bit different change from our little tiny house situation in San Antonio. Just a motel on the highway. Oh, and hey, look at what we got here. A little desk for the Remington Quiet Writer. How cute. A little writing station. Maybe I'll get some typing done. What do we have in here? Not even a Gideon's Bible? Oh, amazing. There apparently aren't any Gideon's Bibles anywhere in the room, but we do have fire tips, so maybe that's the same thing. However, hold that thought, because what we have up here are 30 houses of worship in this little town. Well, here we are in beautiful Fort Stockton, and it is a beautiful little town. We're just at the Garage Coffee Shop. They're closing right now, and I would have shot some video inside, but they had some music playing, and I don't want to worry about copywriting stuff. So anyways, Garage is a very cool coffee shop. They have a great music venue. This building was a machine shop for many, many years, so it's a big, long building and plenty of room for bands and stuff. And back this way is some, I don't know if you can see it, there's some windmills, like smaller windmills turning, and we're going to go down the street and look for the giant Roadrunner. And yes, there is a giant Roadrunner in Fort Stockton. Well, Saturday morning in Fort Stockton, we're heading to a coffee shop, of course. That's what we do. We do coffee shops. Well, here we are in greater downtown Fort Stockton.
I'll be right with you guys.
I know, a really good biological sampling of the insect population between Albuquerque and San Antonio, huh? All of them on the front of my car. Gonna have to get a car wash. Well, hey, here we are. We're back home. Just got back on Saturday afternoon, about 3-ish, roughly, 3 in the afternoon. Yeah, long drive coming back from Fort Stockton up I-285, Highway 10, 285, I-40, all the way across dry, desolate western Texas and eastern New Mexico. But we had a great time, fun trip. Thanks for coming along with me.